It's time to do a reboot of how to make a magazine journal. And the first thing you're going to need, of course, is a magazine. Now, I have a variety of magazines in front of me. They're all a little bit different sizes and contain a different amount of pages. And so you're going to have to decide how many pages you'll think you need in your journal. When I made this one in 2016, this was a Sunset magazine, so it was this size, and it had 106 pages, which was exactly the amount that I needed so that I could do a weekly spread and for a year. And then in the beginning I had a year at a glance, and I knew I wanted to do that. And then I had a blank page at the end, which I also wanted to keep. So that's how I got to 106 pages. So this time I'm going to make a journal for just 6 months, because in my 6/6 journal, I go through June, and if you remember, the 6/6 part is the art journaling, so I had 6 months of art journaling. So as I was preparing for this, I knew that I was going to need, there's 25 weeks in the last half of the year, so that's 50 pages that I will need. And while I could use a Sunset, I was looking at some other different options. And so the Sunset is a little bit smaller. It's not quite as tall, but it's about the same width. Oprah is a little bit bigger, so it's a little bit wider, which was okay. And then this one was just a gorgeous magazine, and I couldn't cut it up, so I didn't even consider this one. So what I ended up deciding to go with is the Magnolia magazine. I like the pages. There's 95 pages in this, which means I'm going to have to get rid of some. So I thought, I'll show you how I'm going to do that. And then I'm also going to do something a little bit different so I don't have to rip quite so many pages out. Here's what you're going to need to make your magazine journal. Once you've decided on your magazine, you're going to need something to reinforce your spine. You can use duct tape, you can use packing tape, or Tyvek tape. Now I use Tyvek. I like it because it's super strong. You can get this at home improvement stores. I got mine at Home Depot. It's a good size roll. It will last you probably the rest of your life as far as making journals, but it's really good. So you'll need those. You'll need a pair of scissors, something to measure with, like a tape measure, a corner rounder if you like to round your corners, which I do in mine, a bone folder, glue stick, and then something to burnish your pages down with. So a soft cloth. I have an old t-shirt that I use. And then because I'm going to have to rip some pages out of this, you need a ruler or something that you can rip against in order to pull those pages out. And that's all you need. So let's get started. So I'm going to end up ripping out about 20 pages. That's what I'm going to need to do to get the right amount. So basically I'm just going to spread them throughout my magazine. And the way I do it is I put it down, I leave about an inch from the center spine, grab one page, and then just rip it out like that. And I go throughout the book just kind of trying to space them out. And again, I told you I'm going to have to rip 20 out. And so it's going to be quite a few that I have to get rid of. The reason why you don't want to just rip it out from the center is you do weaken the spine, and you don't want to do that. And we will end up gluing these little tabs down. So we'll go ahead and go through and get those ripped out. The other thing I'm going to do is create pockets. So I did one here so you can see. It's either you can make it as a pocket, or you can just be like a little inclusion. And that way you don't have to rip out so many pages. So let me show you how I made that. So again, you're going to leave about an inch and rip down as far as you would like. If you want your pocket this tall, then only rip down there. So I'm going to do it about there. And then I'm turning it this way, and I'm going to rip it And you want to make sure that you have, if you have a ruler, you want to make sure your square here, I don't know if you can see that, right there on the edge, so you have a straight piece across. And again, I'm just going to rip it this way. And you can discard that. Now the next thing you want to do is you need to cut this so it's free, so it can actually turn in your journal like that. And so now I have that little inch piece, and I have the makings of a pocket. So I would glue this down. So why don't we go ahead and just do that. So we just glue it down like that. Be generous with your glue, and you can even put it on here. That gives it extra stability. Glue that down. And then this is going to be my pocket. So what I'm going to do is fold it to about 1/4 of an inch from, here's the, let me see if I can show you. This is the center of my spine, right there. And I'm going to leave about 1/4 of an inch because I'm going to put some washi tape down the center here eventually. And just make sure that you're lined up at the bottom and give that good creasing. Now if you want to make it a pocket, you might want to use your center, you might want to use a circle punch, and go ahead and punch that out. Just use a little half circle like that, and that way you'll have, I didn't do that very well, that way you'll have a thumb hole. There you go. Okay. And then you just want to glue this down. So I'm going to apply glue here and all along the bottom, just like that. And fold it and burnish it down well. And there you go. You've got, I would clean this up, obviously, but you've got your little pocket there. So you can go through and get all your pages torn out, create any pockets or inclusions that you want. The other thing you could do is just go ahead, if you don't want to have a whole pocket but you want a little page, just fold it like this, fold the whole thing. And then you have another little flip in there. So there's any number of ways you could do it. So my pages are now torn out, and just as a reminder, the only reason I'm tearing these out is because I have too many pages in my magazine. But if you find that a magazine that has, you know, just about the right amount, especially if you're going to do it for a year, you don't need to do this. The good part about ripping some out is it also gives the spine some breathing room. And I did want to show you one thing here. I ended up doing just a page like this, just by folding it. And now I think we're ready to go ahead and start reinforcing. So let's go ahead and reinforce the spine. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that spine is nice and secure. So we're going to take a piece of Tyvek packing tape, duct tape, whatever you decide to use, and you're going to center it over the spine. You're going to end up wrapping this piece to the back. So just about halfway, as close as you can do it. It doesn't have to be precise. And then the best way to do this that I found is to pull from the center. So just pull it like this. You want to make sure it's secure, and then you can just roll this like that. You can cut this off. And I have a little bit left here. Oh, and one thing I did want to mention too, when in this particular case where I was ripping out pages, I noticed that the magazine started to roll. It was rolling this way. And don't worry about that. All you need to do is just kind of massage it back into place, and it'll come right back. So if that happens to you, just go ahead and do that. Now, you really want to burnish this. You want to make sure it's very secure, especially on the spine. And one thing I didn't tell you at the beginning that I should have, you really want to find a magazine that is glued and not stapled. The stapled magazine, for whatever reason, does not seem to hold as well. And if you do have a stapled one, then you're going to actually need to do a pamphlet stitch on it to make sure that it stays secure. Okay, so we've got that. Now we want to go to the center. And because I've taken pages out, I can't just necessarily go by the count of the pages. So I just kind of look in the center here and see what's in. And that's about center, but I don't really want to put it here with this inclusion. So I think I'll go one more page this way and use that as my center. Now, without breaking the spine, you want to be careful you don't do that. Just use your bone folder and work it gently open. And you want to just make sure you can get this as flat as possible without breaking your spine. And that looks pretty good. And I've pre-cut my tapes. Just makes it a little easier than trying to deal with the roll. And you're just going to span this over the center as best you can. Like that. If you get some wrinkles, don't worry about it. You're going to end up covering this anyway. And then you want to take your bone folder and just sort of work that in there gently. Again, you want to burnish it down. And that's good. And then you would trim off these, anything you had left over. Just like that. You can use an X-Acto knife or you can use scissors, whatever works best for you. Now, the other thing I want to tell you that not to do is don't try and do this in one step where you do your center and you keep going all the way around to do the spine. It will bind your pages here, and that won't work well. So you have to do it in two separate steps. And I start with the spine usually and then go to my center. Okay, and again you just want to close it and make sure everything's good. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is your inside page. Okay. Now, again, you're just going to sort of work it. On this page, I'm sure this is not, I don't like the way this is actually, so I'm going to reinforce this one. Can you see how this one came short? So I'm not sure why it's doing that, but I'm going to go ahead and go to this one. And again, just work it. And the very same thing as we did previously. Span that center as best you can. Burnish it. Kind of helps sometimes to... You're going to trim these off. So you can see this is not hard. It's a little time consuming when you first get this going. And that's that. Now you want to do the same thing on the back. For time's sake I won't do it, but you'll put another piece of tape right here. Make sure it's burnished well, and then close your book. And then your book is reinforced, and you are good to go. Now, the one thing I'm going to do is I'm probably going to end up gluing this page to this one, just because of the way that it, just not, something about that page does not quite feel right. So I'll end up gluing that. This will be my opening page. where I'll probably do a month at a glance on these two, or a year at a glance. And this, I can see, I don't know if you can see this well enough. It looks like it wants to split a little bit. If you get that situation, I would go ahead and reinforce it now. And I'm going to do that. It doesn't hurt to have another piece of tape on there. So I'm going to go ahead and reinforce that, because I don't want to have any chance that this is going to split on me. I've had very good luck with the Sunset magazine, and I did that for all of 2016. And the magazine I'm using now for 6 months of journaling and 6 months of art journaling is a Fast Company, and it's held together well as well. Okay, so that makes me feel a little better now that that's nice and secure. Okay, so there's going to be my opening, and these will be my first pages that I use. Now the next thing you do is you measure how wide and how tall your pages are, and then you're going to lay down, so this is about 8 by 10 7/8. And you're going to lay down either scrapbook paper, printer paper, whatever you want to use. I have a grid pattern that I designed for my journals that contains a date strip at the top. And all I have to do is circle the month and the week of this spread, and it works out really well. And if you would like this file, I'll leave my email address in the description box below, and all you have to do is just drop me an email and I will send it to you. So I generally put a piece of wax paper behind this just so I can see it well. And this is where you're going to use a lot of glue stick. And I end up using the Elmer's Disappearing Glue just because it's readily available. There's an Extreme, I think it's called, Ultra Extreme Elmer's, that works really well, and Yoo-Hoo works good. I can never find Yoo-Hoo in a pack. I can only find them in single packs, and I go through a lot of glue, and you will too when you make these. Not only doing your pages, but gluing your images, etc. So you want to put a healthy amount of glue on here, and the purple's nice because you can see where it's drying. And then I generally will put a little bit on the page, especially around the edges. And then here's how I put my page down. I start at the edge of the page, and I hold this sort of taut, line it up where I need it, so at top and bottom, like that. And then I just roll it down to the center and start smoothing. And then you grab your burnishing rag. Just hold your paper down. If you get some glue on it, don't worry about it. And just like this. And I usually do a month at a time. That's all the further ahead I go, because this is kind of boring to just do this. If you get some glue on here, what you can do is take an eraser, like these Magic, and just erase it, especially after it dries a little bit, and it'll go away. Okay? And then you do the same thing on the other side. In the file that I have, it has, so put that there. In the file that I have, it is just a plain grid for this side of the page, or however you want to do it. But I don't feel like I need dates on both sides. So again, we're just going to glue this one down using the same process. And your paper might want to wrinkle on you, but it will settle down once it dries. Just want to make sure that you really get the edges. Those are the areas that are going to lift. And if they do lift, don't worry about them. Just glue them back down. Again, I'm going to go around the pages, around the edge of the pages. here. Go right over that Tyvek if necessary. And again, do the same thing. I line my pages up along the edge here, and then just roll it to the center like that. And just burnish it well. Now I put washi tape down the center and on my edges. And I do that because I like the way it looks on the edge of my journal. So you can see here how that looks. I just think that looks really good. And then down the center. Again, it provides an extra measure of security there, plus some color. So that's why I put it down on my centers. And that's it. Once I have my tape along my edges, then I go ahead and round my corners. Now you will see there's some ghosting going on here, but actually you won't notice it when you get your pages done because you'll be placing things on top. So you can see you don't really see the pages coming through. You might see a little bit of writing, but you won't really notice it too much. So that's how it'll look when you're all done. So now I'm ready to put my washi tape down the center. I decided the color that I wanted to use in the pattern. And one thing that I do is I do just go with a glue down the center just to make sure that that washi tape holds, because not all washi tape is real sticky. And I use all different widths. It doesn't really matter. Just depends on how much of a margin you left all the way around. I just try and center it the best I can. And again, this will be another case where you want to make sure that you burnish well so that your washi tape stays down. And as I said before, my 2016, I've really had no problems with it. It's held together well. Everything has stayed in place. I might have glued one thing back down that might have lifted, but that's it. Now, I don't generally put washi tape up, both up here and here. It's fine, I think, without it, but certainly you can do that if you like. I do put it on the edges again just because it reinforces the edge a little bit, and I like the way it looks. So there you go. That's it. And that's how you make a magazine journal. Now, if you guys have any questions, please leave them down below, and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. And I usually do my cover after I've worked in my magazine for a little bit, and I think about how I want to do it. Then I'll go ahead and do my front and back covers. And I have a video on doing covers, which I'll also link. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this reboot, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.